Hey guys, I'm Nicole again, and I'm going to be talking about conflict management styles today. So, a conflict is a transactional process, meaning that a process in which people feed off of each other between parties who perceive incompatible goals, scarce resources, or interference in achieving their objectives. And conflict management styles are the different ways in which people can resolve issues that they're having with others. So, there are two different bases on which people approach conflict management. The first is concern for self or assertion, which means that you make sure that your own needs are satisfied. And the second is concern for others or cooperation, and this is making sure that the needs of others are satisfied. So there are 5 different styles of conflict management. The first is called avoidance, which requires low assertiveness and low cooperation. And in avoidance, you avoid the problem or communicate ambiguously about it, and this tends to leave the problem unresolved. So there are 2 types of avoidance. The first is called skirting, and it indirectly addresses the problem, but then changes the subject. So nothing helpful comes from it, like it's brought up, but nothing is resolved. And the second is called sniping, in which a communicator makes a hurtful jab at their conflict partner, and then flees the scene so that no further communication can occur. So um, basically, avoidance is the most frequent approach to conflict management, but tends to be negative because it doesn't really solve anything. The second style of conflict management is accommodation, which requires low assertiveness and high concern for others. So, in accommodation, one person gives up their goals so that the other person can have exactly what they want. And people with less power tend to be more accommodating because they don't have the power over the other person to ask for what they want generally. And this isn't ideal because one person leaves dissatisfied, and it tends to lead to deeper relational problems in the future. The third style of conflict management is competition, which requires high assertiveness and low cooperation. And in competition, people pursue their own goals, often to the detriment of their conflict partner. So this is one of the most negative types of conflict resolution, as it often turns vicious. And it's usually associated with escalation, meaning that there's a dramatic rise in aggression or emotion, or sudden death statements, which are highly aggressive accusations that can permanently damage relationships. So conflict doesn't have to be negative for competition. You could be like playing a soccer match, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to hate someone else, but it tends to not be entirely positive and could be detrimental to relationships. The fourth style of conflict management is called collaboration, which requires a high concern for self and for others. And people that engage in collaboration view conflict as a mutual problem-solving challenge, and it tends to be the most productive style of conflict management because everyone gets exactly what they want. But it can be difficult and sometimes impossible to achieve, especially if both parties have opposing goals, because obviously if your goals are opposite, you're not both going to be able to get exactly what you want, which leads into the fifth style of conflict management, which is compromise. So basically, compromise requires medium concern for self and for others, and in this style, both parties get part of what they want, but not everything. So basically, like, it's a good style because it tends to be more realistic than collaboration, but not everybody gets exactly what they want. So an example of a time when I had to use conflict resolution was my senior year of high school. I had to share a car with my twin brother, and we both felt as if we were entitled to have more car time and would often get into arguments that turned extremely competitive. That led to a lot of really bad arguments that used a lot of sudden death statements, and it was terrible for our relationship. We would fight a lot, or like he would take the car without telling me to assert his dominance and would leave me stranded at home, which would lead to more fighting. So eventually, after arguing and not solving anything for a really long time, we engaged in a compromise and created a schedule to make distribution of car time fair. And if one of us really needed the car and weren't scheduled to have it, we'd talk it out and figure it out constructively. So after we constructively tackled this conflict, our relationship was a lot stronger and we were a lot happier around each other. So this situation taught me that it's a lot more pleasant to engage in compromise or some form of constructive conflict resolution than it is to engage in competition or something that could possibly be detrimental to my relationship with someone who I'm so close with. So the questions that I have for you guys today are, um, just like my car situation, have you had an experience where switching your approach to conflict management has improved your situation? And my second question is that I find that compromise tends to work more effectively than collaboration, but have you had a time in your life when collaboration has been effective? Please let me know in the comments. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say.